Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
And also EEARTS, Heart's Home family, and our Patreon family as well.
Indeed.
There's been many new Patreons. We want to thank you guys all for joining us and supporting the channel. It really does tremendously help in these times. You know, the dark side is really out there trying to block the light as much as it can. And this is from Disclosure News, and you can see in red here where they're talking about they've been forced to implement a new rule, and Google forces them to request consent, and now the ad revenues are dropping greatly. And, you know, we've noticed this too, just to let you guys know how the system is. As our main channel has been demonetized for 4 out of the 6 years it's been there, and then on EEARTS they have like a limit. It doesn't matter if the views keep going up, if we're pushing out more videos, it doesn't matter, because the ad revenue is literally 10% of what it not even 10% of what it was at Evolutionary at its peak. And it's limited. So this is what they try to do. They try to starve us out, but the key is going to be coming together, and coming together in every way, coming together with your neighbors, family, friends, loved ones, working out plans, bartering and trading, as we always talk about. It's making sure we take care of each other, and we can take care of each other in many ways. We really don't need the system. We could come together and do something totally new. When you look to the Schumann resonance, and again, this is in so many ways, it's correlated to the consciousness of the earth and everything on the earth, because again, we are all part of something bigger. All of us are individual cells in the earth, and the earth is just an individual cell in the universe, and the universe is just an individual cell in something that we could probably not even comprehend.
I know. And I'm looking at this on the thing, and it's flashing. Thank you, so-and-so, for the financial energy. And that's really what it is, because right now, during this time, you can call it energy. It's a form of energy. And I think that's really cool that they're doing that. But, coming to this realm and this understanding, things are not going to stay the same forever. So that's one thing we have to look forward to, is change. It's the one thing we can count on. It's the only constant that there is. There's change, there's expansion, and the things that we learn during that change and during that expansion are very exciting, and it's ours. Nobody can take that away from us. Our personal experience with other people, the lessons that we learn in life, the lessons that we get to learn when we come in these bodies, that's ours. And we should be very appreciative and thankful, and also recognize that we can turn this energy to the direction that we want it to. We have a lot of power over the experience we want to have in this realm. We have so much to choose from right now. You go to any grocery store, you go online, go shopping, and you can just mold and create your life in any way that you want. We have choices.
We do. And so this is looking at the Schumann resonance, current resonance currently. So we see these numbers, the base frequency 7.83 hertz, and we see the frequency max was up at 8.18 and minimum 7.36, and it gives you power and amplitude there, the quality. So what is this all about? Well, this is kind of like, I like the idea and how they put a baseline there, because there is a certain baseline, and we're going to keep nudging the baseline higher. The earth is going to keep nudging the baseline higher. And what's going to happen is at some point in time, those lower frequencies are going to drop away from us, and it'll be as if they can no longer see us in so many ways. They won't even recognize us. It's like when you're tuning a radio channel, and okay, I hear something here, it's all garbled, there's got to be something here, and then you get it in tune, and then you start moving away from that, and it starts going out, getting garbled, and then it's gone, and then you find a new channel.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. There's a whole lot going on, and we find ourselves just always in that space of change. And, the more we can resonate with the earth herself, the better off we are going to be spiritually, the better off we're going to be mentally. So that's why they talk about grounding, how important grounding is. I mean, it really helps bring you back to your center if you go out into the forest. And just if you're in a big city and you're really frazzled and you're able to just get out into the forest, really take note of how you feel, because you can take those energetic signatures with you when you go back home by simply thinking about when you were back in the forest. I mean, it's really an amazing existence that we live in.
So when we look over here, this is the spectrogram calendar. It displays data from the magnetic field detectors deployed by the Global Coherence Initiative research team. This comes from Heart Math. To monitor the resonances occurring in the plasma waves constantly circling the Earth in the ionosphere. These daily spectrograms show the activity occurring at the various resonant frequencies from 1 to 50 Hertz. Within the spectrogram, the power or intensity level of each frequency is displayed as a color, with yellow being the most intense. The Schumann resonances appear as the horizontal lines at 7.8, 14, 20, 26, 33, and 39 Hertz. In this calendar, each day begins at midnight UTC, Coordinated Universal Time. Each row of images is from a different site location. New sites will be added as they become operational. Clicking on image will pop up a full-size image of the selected day. So what you're looking at right here is, you could see black. So we have no data. We have no data for the 27th. We have no data out of 2 and 5 locations, which are Saudi Arabia and New Zealand. Why, we don't know. But this does happen regularly. And if you look at it, you might say, well, it looks like the highest frequency is number 4. That's Alberta, Canada. Yeah, it does. And I don't know. What's the lowest frequency? It's probably number 6 here, South Africa. So again, we can correlate these, and not that these are spots that are chakras, but we could correlate it to chakras. The Earth does have chakras, and some have noted that Mount Shasta is thought in among some people to be the root chakra. And so again, we will find people that perhaps, spiritually, they're in a very high frequency because they've done some work, and throughout their lives, often is the case with somebody that is, say, a little bit more advanced in age, spiritually developed, but suffering from physical deterioration in the body. You might see a weak root chakra. You might see a very developed heart, crown, third eye chakra. Now, typically, again, we want to open up and awaken each chakra as best we can, keep them open. But again, trauma closes chakras. So when you're looking at these different points, there are ley lines all over the Earth, just as there are meridian points in our bodies. And, maybe at some time we'll have to do a 3-hour show or something, or a couple, hour and a half shows to cover just how all this coordinates. As one of my and Cindy's specialties is Qigong, and just Qigong is energy work, and many are familiar with Reiki and Pranic healing and quantum touch, all these different modalities of energy work. Medical Qigong is very thorough, and in that we study just like an acupuncturist would study, or a doctor of medical traditional Chinese medicine would study all the meridian points, understanding that these points ultimately are moving energy, which is supplying the physical body with that it needs to keep surviving and thriving, and also it's supplying energy to the energy bodies that we can't necessarily, in all cases, see. Some people can see many layers. Some might see 1 or 2 layers. And I think most people with just a little bit of training can see the etheric layer around the body. Again, it doesn't take too much training. It just takes a little practice. But again, we can look at these points as correlating and being close to different ley line points, different chakra points per se, and that would give you a reason why their frequencies are different, as well as the consciousness of the people and what they're going through. Like South Africa, maybe there's more turmoil there at the moment. This seems to be than up in Alberta, Canada. And again, there's not as many people up in Canada. So there's so many different things that we could take into account when we're looking at this. And I just wanted to give you guys, some basic info on this type of stuff. Heart Math has a lot available to it, a lot. This covers the Schumann resonance power as well. This is the Global Consciousness Project Random Network Variants. Now, this is fascinating too, because they maintain a global network of random number generators. The network has shown non-random activity during widely shared experiences of deeply engaging events like 9/11. This is when a lot of these things all of a sudden started to jump out into the forefront, because it seemed like people knew something was going to happen on 9/11, for instance, right before it happened.
Isn't that amazing? Is there's so many things out there that we're really not exposed to. From the time when I was a little girl, I knew that the human body itself contained so much information, and that it would never really fully be understood. And I always thought that was kind of a weird thing to think when I was a little girl, but it's just something I carried with me from a past life, and that's what I have to go with in this life, to understand what is going on with us, and how do things work, how do things tick. I've always kind of been one who wants to understand the underlying information. And I've always been able to sniff out usually when something just doesn't fit. And then I know to go deeper. I know to look for more understanding. But this is really cool because it's somehow able to pick up energies of us. And how does it know to predict these things? Does that mean that we are the ones predicting it? What's going on there? It's super curious, isn't it?
It is. And here we go. Our hearts know the future, says the study. So how to know the heart. I have a couple here. Can your heart predict the future? These three are all talking about the same study, which again comes out of Heart Math, that showed that, it appears to be the case that we have an emotional imprint that comes in before our brains know something from a fact point of view. Our hearts can perceive our emotional future up to 6 seconds ahead of our brains, say scientists at Heart Math Institute in a groundbreaking study. So, it is absolutely the case. And, again, I think of Star Wars, and I think of when that, what was it? Was it Operation 66 or something that gets put into effect, and they start killing all the good guys, and Yoda feels it. Or when, one of the planets was destroyed by either, the the Death Star or Star Killer base. These things too are tied into our DNA. Somebody said, what proof do you have of all this, that extraterrestrials are running the show? And I said, well, the people that have been following us for years, obviously they've seen enough to keep them looking. And also, really, the answer is in your own DNA. Because again, DNA is not just in the body. Everything that we have is uploaded to a cloud of sorts. It's called the Akashic Records. So we can access everything and anything at any time that ever happened. We could see clearly, and Cindy could read it now, and that's relatively rare for the time period that we're in. But when you're up in, say, 4.5, the mid-astral and higher, yeah, you can do this all the time, and you could see for yourself. Just look and feel into it. When we look at what our good buddy Bes is doing, Bes was taken to be an Egyptian god of hearth and home, and often pregnant women would pray to him for protection and guidance. Well, yeah, when we look at Bes, what's he doing most of the time? Because he hangs with us. He's kind of one of our main guides here. He's usually perusing the Akashic records. Yeah, so usually it's kind of like he's sitting there with his feet up reading the book, but that's symbolic because we simply can scan the Akashic records. So our hearts know the future. Well, in reality, there is no time. So, yeah, we can access the past, present, and future, and there's all different potentials too. So it depends on which one we want to tap into.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought it was really a very curious and interesting thing to know that when people were shown photographs that would have certain emotions attached to it, 6 seconds before they saw the photograph, they would have that emotion that is tied to the photograph. So we all have this ability, but look what they do to us in this realm. They really create a lot of trauma. So we're in a lot of distress. And when you're in distress, you're not able to really tap into that. But if you're in a calm state of mind, you can tap into the things around you quite clearly. And, you know, knowing and understanding that the heart has its own wiring, and the energy of the heart is far stronger than the energy of the brain, yet they're both connected. So we read things through the heart. You know, I channel through the heart. Yes, the pineal gland is in the brain, but I channel through the heart. I read my heart. And that's how I get the information that I get so often. It's I'm able to reach out there and connect with another sphere of information, and then just channel and see. I can see the visions, I can feel the emotions, and I follow this storyline. So it's like you're just sort of like this little piece of light, and you're just following the information and you're reading it as it comes in. So it's really quite interesting. But yes, I think about when certain people walk into a room, and you've heard that saying, so and so just would light up the whole room. Well, their heart is really big, and their heart chakra is probably really open, and they've been able to do some work to clear a lot of trauma. So, and people, you guys, we can all feel it, and it's just wonderful and amazing. And that kind of brings me to entrainment. So when we have these vibrations and we have people in a room, well, the energies are going to entrain to the highest vibration in the room. And this is all the science backed and stuff that sometimes people need to understand that there is so much more to this world than what we can see with our two eyes. There's so much more to this world than, you know, what we are being told. We're only told what they want us to know, and that's to keep us under control.
Absolutely. So here's a recap of how the scientists figured out our hearts are like emotional fortune tellers. Yeah, it's more than that. Volunteers were shown two sets of images. One set was neutral, like images of fruit or a landscape. The other was emotionally charged, and it could be positive or negative. And a computer randomly showed pictures as the volunteers' heart rate, brain waves, and other nervous system activity were recorded. As expected, people's hearts reacted emotionally to the images that were either erotic or horrific, but what scientists were shocked by was that everybody's hearts were reacting seconds before they saw the picture. And it's not like they were reading another person, because this was being done by a computer randomly. You could also say, well, they're probably, maybe they're tapping in psychically and reading the image in the person's mind. No, it was different. And this is why AI is terrified of us, because we have it all over AI. AI is so incredibly predictable. So predictable. And we can see every single move. Again, this is why, again, to use a human emotional standpoint, AI is very fearful of humans.
Yeah, because AI is always going to want to try to be who we are. AI is only able to copy what we do. It does not have that origin of source, and it does not have the emotions of perfect love to draw from and to have experiences from. And, and in one way, I look at AI, and if you ask, does it have an emotion? The emotion that I see, or I call an emotion, is the desire to take over, the desire to have something. So if there is an emotion, I guess I would call it a jealousy, even though AI doesn't have emotions, but it wants to take over a thing, and it never will be able to.
Yeah, follow your heart, listen to your inner voice, stop caring about what others think. That's all good advice. Absolutely. Now again, what can we do to advance this ability? And it's taking the time to have a regular daily practice. The more time we spend being still and listening, and really we have to kind of shut the brain off. And one way that's really easy is either tracking your breath, following your breath, and Heart Math was recommending 5 to 6 second inhales, 5 to 6 second exhales. Yeah, that's relatively comfortable. Just slow, like inhale 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and exhale 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and just following that pattern, following your breath. That's a great place to start. You could candle gaze. You can just simply, watch nature. Like we go in the backyard and do mantras, and I'll just be staring at the trees, and then the trees just turn into energy patterns. And, that's a lot of times when I start to get perceptions of things. And, another thing you can do is absolutely do mantras. And we can definitely say that the people that adapt and take on regular daily practice of the Vedic mantras do so much better typically than those that don't. Why? Because you're constantly pulling the energy from 5 and 6D down into you. So you're literally lifting your baseline, like we were talking about with the baseline of 7.83 hertz. You're literally lifting your baseline upwards, because again, it's not that you're worshiping these beings as I say, that hummingbird came right in the window. It's not that you're worshiping these beings as source, as actually now tons of birds are coming in next to us in the feeder. It's that you're going to beings that are very, very wise teachers. And that's all they want to do is basically lend us a hand. When we need somebody to reach out because we're climbing up to a spot that's tough to reach, they got their hand out for us. They don't want to do the job for us, but they will help us.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And, we were working with someone last week, and it came to me that doing the Sanskrit mantras, it's very much like doing Morse code for your soul and your body to bring in those good energies. So that's the difference between Sanskrit mantras and good affirmations. Affirmations are wonderful, but the Sanskrit mantras, they're different. They can take a little time to learn, but gosh, it is so worth it.
Yes. So again, guys, I hope you found this interesting. We look forward to your comments. Put comments down on where you want to go next on this journey. And we want to invite everyone that isn't a Patreon to join us over there as well for unique content that we could speak a little bit more freely of outside of YT and even outside of Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble as well. Much love. God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.